What if the greatest stories ever told were hidden not in dusty scrolls or crumbling ruins, but among the stars themselves? Across the vast expanse of time, ancient civilizations gazed upward and saw far more than glittering lights. They witnessed the rise and fall of celestial kingdoms, where gods and mortals walked side by side, weaving tales so grand they shaped the very fabric of history. These legends, whispered through generations and etched into the night sky, hold secrets that defy modern logic, lost technologies, cosmic battles, and prophecies that still echo today. But what if these weren't just myths? What if they were fragments of a forgotten truth waiting to be pieced together? For centuries, scholars have dismissed these stories as mere fantasy, yet the deeper you look, the more the lines blur between legend and reality. Imagine standing at the edge of an ancient temple, where carvings of winged beings and fiery chariots mirror descriptions from texts thousands of years apart. Or consider the uncanny precision of star maps drawn by cultures that, by all accounts, should never have possessed such knowledge. How did they know? Who or what guided their hands? These aren't just idle questions, they're the first steps into a labyrinth of mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about humanity's past. This journey isn't just about uncovering secrets, it's about reclaiming a legacy. The 30 epic tales of the celestial kingdoms are more than stories. They're a bridge between worlds, a testament to the audacity of those who dared to look beyond the horizon and dream of realms beyond our own. From the celestial courts of the Jade Emperor to the cosmic wars of the Hindu Devas, each tale is a thread in a grand tapestry, revealing forgotten wisdom, cosmic alliances, and betrayals that reshaped destiny itself. So if you've ever felt that tug of wonder when you stare at the night sky, if you've ever questioned what or who might be watching from the darkness, then you're already part of this story. The only question left is, are you ready to hear the truth? High in the mist-shrouded peaks of the Himalayas, where the air grows thin and the mountains seem to touch the heavens, whispers persist of a secret older than time itself, the lost star maps of Shangri-La. According to ancient Tibetan monks, these celestial guides were more than mere navigational tools. They were living keys to a hidden paradise, a realm untouched by time, where enlightenment and eternal peace awaited those wise enough to follow the heaven's silent call. But here's the mystery. If these maps were real, why do no physical traces remain? And why do scattered text from cultures thousands of miles apart describe strikingly similar charts, all pointing to the same impossible location? Take the case of the Zhang civilization, an advanced kingdom predating Tibet's recorded history. Their texts speak of sky rivers and stone mirrors, used to plot paths through the stars with uncanny precision, knowledge that shouldn't have existed in their era. Then there's the eerie similarity to the Dogon people of Mali, who centuries later mapped the Sirius star system with inexplicable accuracy, just as the myths of Shangri-La describe. Coincidence or evidence of a shared, forgotten science? What makes these star maps truly unsettling, though, isn't just their existence, it's their sudden disappearance. Historical records hint that Buddhist guardians deliberately hid or destroyed them, fearing their power could be misused. Imagine a blueprint to a utopia, capable of guiding entire civilizations to transcendence or corruption. Some scholars argue the maps weren't lost at all, but encoded into temple murals or oral traditions, waiting for the right moment to be rediscovered. Others believe they were taken, perhaps by forces determined to keep paradise out of reach. One clue lingers in the night sky itself. Certain alignments of constellations over the Himalayas, visible only during rare celestial events, mirror ancient descriptions of the gateway to Shangri-La. Could the answer have been above us all along, etched in starlight, patiently waiting for the world to remember how to look? The deeper you dig, the more the legend blurs with reality, leaving one chilling question. if these star maps ever resurface, would they lead us to salvation or unravel the world as we know it? In the heart of ancient Chinese cosmology, where celestial bureaucracies mirrored the empires of Earth, one mystery stands above all others: the abrupt and inexplicable vanishing of the Jade Emperor's entire heavenly court. One moment, the heavens thrived with divine officials, immortal generals, and star-spanning palaces, orchestrating the balance of the cosmos. The next, silence. No decrees, no celestial omens, just an eerie absence where a kingdom of gods once reigned. But was this a mythic metaphor, a cosmic catastrophe, or something far stranger? The official records of the Tang dynasty offer the first unsettling clue. Court astronomers documented a great darkness that blotted out entire constellations for 49 nights, precisely the period when folklore claims the Jade Emperor's court disappeared. Some texts describe it as a veil descending, while others whisper of the heavens turning their face away. But here's what chills historians. Similar anomalies appear in records from Korea, Japan, and even Persia during the same era, as if something monumental happened not just in myth but in the observable sky. This raises the first compelling theory: interdimensional travel. Ancient Taoist alchemical texts speak of the gates of the nine heavens, portals that could transport entire realms beyond mortal perception. Could the court have stepped through? Consider the Peach Banquet, a lavish celestial feast said to grant immortality. Legend claims it was interrupted mid-celebration, with half-eaten fruit left rotting on golden plates. To some, this isn't just symbolism, it's evidence of a sudden evacuation, as if the gods fled something even they feared. Yet another angle suggests political subterfuge. The Jade Emperor's reign wasn't without dissent. Rebel deities like the Monkey King or the Dragon Kings often challenged his authority. Was the court's disappearance not a departure but a coup? Ming Dynasty playwrights certainly thought so, weaving coded allegories of heavenly revolutions into operas where the overthrow of tyrants mirrored earthly dynastic collapses. Perhaps the court didn't vanish, it was erased, its history rewritten by the victors. Then there's the most haunting possibility of all, that the celestial court never left. Hidden passages in the Taoist canon speak of sleeping palaces and dreaming gods, implying the court exists in a state beyond human perception, waiting to reawaken. Modern researchers point to odd electromagnetic anomalies around sacred Chinese mountains, where compasses spin wildly and pilgrims report visions of floating citadels. Coincidence or echoes of a realm just out of phase with our own? The truly unsettling question isn't where the court went, but why its absence was so carefully preserved in myth. Cultures worldwide record fallen angels or abandoned pantheons, but China's celestial bureaucracy is unique. It didn't collapse. It simply stepped aside, leaving behind rules, rituals, and an empty throne. As if they knew humanity would need to govern itself one day, or worse, as if they were warned to retreat before something far older stirred in the cosmos. Deep in the icy crags of the Himalayas, where blizzards howl like restless spirits and the earth itself seems to breathe fire, lies the most baffling relic of an ancient kingdom, a flame that never dies. The people of Furba called it the breath of the phoenix, a pillar of fire said to have burned continuously for over 3,000 years, untouched by snow, wind, or time. But was this eternal flame a divine miracle, a feat of forgotten engineering, or evidence of something far more profound? The first clue comes from the ruins of Furba itself, a city carved into the mountainside with precision that defies its era. Local legends claim the flame was a gift from Garuda, the celestial bird of Hindu and Buddhist lore, who plucked it from the sun itself. Yet geological surveys reveal a more earthly truth. The city sits atop a dormant volcanic vent, where natural gases could theoretically fuel a perpetual fire. But here's the catch. Temple inscriptions describe the flame changing color from gold to cobalt blue, depending on the mood of the gods, a phenomenon modern science can't easily explain. Then there's the mystery of the fire sermons. Scrolls recovered from nearby monasteries speak of monks who meditated inches from the flames for decades, emerging unharmed, some even claiming to see visions of past and future within the fire's dance. Similar accounts appear in Zoroastrian texts from Persia, where sacred fires were believed to carry divine messages. Could these cultures have stumbled upon the same secret, a flame that somehow bridged the physical and spiritual worlds? The most chilling detail, though, lies in the flame's abrupt disappearance. When invaders sacked Ferber in the 12th century, chronicles state the fire retreated into the earth rather than be extinguished. Centuries later, British explorers documented Himalayan shamans summoning bursts of blue fire from the ground during rituals, insisting it was the same eternal flame merely hiding. Even today, shepherds report eerie lights flickering in the valleys near Ferber's ruins, especially during lunar eclipses, as if something beneath the mountains is still waiting, still watching. What if the Phoenix Kingdom's flame wasn't just a symbol but a technology? Ancient Vedic texts describe Agni Vidya, the science of fire, capable of everything from healing to communication across realms. Perhaps Ferber's priests mastered this art, tapping into geothermal forces while infusing the flame with a purpose beyond mere combustion. That would explain why every attempt to recreate it, from medieval alchemists to modern laboratories, has failed. Some fires don't just burn fuel, they burn with intention, and that changes everything. Bridges span rivers, gorges, even continents, but what about a bridge between worlds? Among Emperor Qin's countless wonders, one legend stands apart: the Celestial Bridge, a structure so vast it was said to vanish into the clouds, connecting the earthly realm to the palaces of the heavens. According to court records, this wasn't just an architectural feat, it was a tool designed by the emperor's alchemists to capture the music of the stars. But what if this bridge wasn't myth at all, but a lost monument to humanity's first attempts to reach beyond the sky? The clues lie in fragments of Qin dynasty star charts unearthed near the old capital. These diagrams don't just map constellations, they depict precise celestial alignments, with notes describing harmonic resonances and gateways tied to specific lunar phases. Most startling, the charts pinpoint a location in the Qinling Mountains where the bridge supposedly stood, marked by symbols matching modern astrological nodes where Earth's magnetic field fluctuates wildly. Coincidence or evidence that the alchemists were tapping into something science is only now beginning to understand. Then there's the material. Ancient texts claim the bridge was built from stone that drank moonlight, a substance so light it defied gravity when sung to in the correct pitch. While that sounds like pure fantasy, recent excavations near the site revealed shards of an unknown ceramic alloy, embedded with quartz crystals arranged in fractal patterns, a design that, when tested, vibrates at frequencies known to interact with electromagnetic fields. Could this be the remnants of the bridge's singing stones? But the most haunting detail comes from the bridge's alleged purpose. While later poets romanticized it as a stairway to the gods, Qin's own edicts called it a listening ear, a device to intercept celestial omens. This matches rediscovered alchemical manuals describing rituals where mirror arrays atop the bridge captured starlight, projecting shifting patterns onto the ground below, patterns that, according to the texts, predicted everything from droughts to dynastic collapses. Modern astronomers confirm the site's alignment would have allowed such a setup to track Venus and Sirius with eerie precision, yet the bridge's fate remains a riddle. Imperial decrees ordered its destruction after just 7 years, citing heaven's displeasure. But scrolls smuggled out by dissident scholars tell a darker tale, of nights when the bridge hummed with a voice not of this world, and workers who vanished mid-construction, their tools found neatly stacked as if they'd simply stepped into the air. Perhaps the most chilling question isn't how the celestial bridge was built, but what it awakened, and why Emperor Qin, a man who feared nothing, was desperate to bury its secrets. Among the golden pavilions and jade gardens of Kublai Khan's legendary summer palace, one marvel defied all explanation: the whispering bells of Xanadu. These ornate bronze bells, suspended from silk cords in the Hall of 1,000 Winds, were said to chime with perfect harmony even on utterly still days, their music weaving through the air like voices from another world. Court poets called it the Song of Heaven, but the truth behind their eerie melody hints at something far stranger than poetry. What if these weren't mere decorations but remnants of a lost science, a forgotten fusion of art and acoustics that bordered on the divine? The first clue lies in the bell's peculiar construction. Unlike traditional Chinese bells, which relied on physical strikers, Xanadu's treasures were forged from an unusual alloy described in Mongol chronicles as singing metal. Modern metallurgists analyzing fragments from the site found traces of nickel and rare earth elements, materials known to vibrate at specific frequencies when exposed to electromagnetic fields. This raises a startling possibility: were the bells designed to respond not to wind, but to unseen energies in the atmosphere? Ancient Tibetan and Persian texts speak of similar, self-sounding instruments used in sacred rituals, powered by what they called the dragon's pulse, a force modern science might recognize as infrasound or geomagnetic resonance. Even more puzzling are the accounts of the bells' behavior. Marco Polo himself wrote of hearing them toll at midnight with no hand near them, their tones shifting in real time to match the movements of guests through the hall, as if tracking their steps. Some scholars argue this was an early form of sonic surveillance, a network of tuned resonators that acted like an ancient security system. Others point to the palace's strategic alignment with ley lines, suggesting the entire structure functioned as a massive sound chamber, amplifying subtle vibrations from the earth itself. But the most haunting theory emerges from the bell's sudden silence. When Xanadu fell, records claim the last keeper of the bells, a blind monk named Lin Fong, dismantled them one moonless night, scattering their components across secret locations. Before his disappearance, he left a single cryptic note: "They were never ours to keep." Centuries later, explorers in the Gobi desert reported hearing faint, ghostly chimes near ruined temple sites where, upon excavation, strange metallic fragments were found buried in perfect geometric patterns. Were these the remnants of the whispering bells, still humming with residual energy, or something far older waiting to be awakened? Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't how the bells worked, but why they were created. Xanadu wasn't just a palace, it was Kublai Khan's attempt to build a bridge between earth and sky, a place where human ambition touched the realm of gods. The bells may have been more than art or technology. They could have been an experiment, a test to see if mortal hands could harness the music of the cosmos itself. And if that's true, their silent legacy asks us this: what other forgotten harmonies still linger at the edges of history, just waiting for the right moment to be heard? Hidden beneath the shifting sands of the Gobi lies an artifact so perplexing, it defies every known chapter of human history: the sky mirror. This colossal disk, described in Mongol scrolls as the eye that watches the stars, was reportedly forged from a metal so polished it could reflect celestial movements with impossible precision. Yet this was no mere astronomical tool. Local legends claim the mirror didn't just observe the heavens, it answered them, pulsing with light during meteor showers, as if conducting a silent dialogue with the cosmos. But how could a civilization without advanced metallurgy create such a wonder? And why was it buried like a secret waiting to be reclaimed? Archaeologists studying the site have uncovered fragments of an alloy unlike anything native to the region, a blend of copper, silver, and an unidentified element that resists corrosion even after centuries underground. Even more baffling are the microscopic grooves etched into its surface, arranged in spiral patterns matching the orbital paths of planets. These aren't random scratches, they're mathematical inscriptions, a codex written in geometry. Tibetan monks who once pilgrimaged to the site spoke of sky scripts appearing on the disk's surface during lunar eclipses, though no modern team has witnessed the phenomenon. Could the mirror have been a stellar communication device, or perhaps something far older, a relic not made by human hands at all? The mystery deepens with the tale of the Tian Shan nomads, the self-proclaimed keepers of the mirror. This reclusive tribe, documented by Tang Dynasty scribes, guarded the artifact with rituals that blurred the line between devotion and dread. Their shamans wore headdresses embedded with shards of the same mysterious alloy, claiming the metal sang during certain star alignments. Then, in the span of a single generation, the entire tribe vanished. Abandoned campsites showed no signs of conflict, meals left half-eaten, tools neatly arranged as if the people had simply dissolved into the desert air. Only one clue remained, a circular patch of fused glass at the center of their largest settlement, its surface scored with the same spiral patterns as the sky mirror. What happened that final night? Fragmented accounts from neighboring caravans describe an unnatural dawn lighting the horizon, followed by a wind that carried whispers in no known language. Modern satellite surveys reveal electromagnetic anomalies in the area, with compass needles spinning wildly over the buried disk's last recorded location. Some theorists suggest the nomads didn't perish but transcended, that the mirror, once fully activated, served as a doorway. Others point to darker possibilities, noting that the Tian Shan's oral histories warned of the sky's hunger, a force that demanded sacrifice to maintain balance between worlds. The most chilling detail: recent expeditions have noted a peculiar trend. Every team that's excavated near the mirror's suspected coordinates has reported identical, vivid dreams upon returning home. Not of the past, but of a future where the artifact stands uncovered, its surface alive with moving constellations, and in every dream the same phrase echoes: "The eye is opening." Whether prophecy or warning, one truth remains: some secrets aren't meant to be found. They're meant to find us, carved into the shadowed cliffs of Longmen, where the Yellow River whispers through ancient gorges. A series of forgotten caves holds a secret that rewrites our understanding of the stars. Here, amid intricate Buddhist reliefs, an anomaly stands out: dragons. Not the mythological beasts of legend, but creatures coiled around celestial spheres, their claws tracing precise star paths with an accuracy that shouldn't exist for their time. These aren't just carvings, they're star maps depicting constellations as they appeared not in the Tang Dynasty when the caves were sealed, but millennia earlier, during an age when human civilization was still in its cradle. How could artists from the 8th century know the precise positions of stars from an era long before written history? The answer might lie in the carving's most baffling feature: the dragon's eyes. Each pupil is a drilled hole, perfectly aligned to frame specific stars when viewed from a narrow ledge inside the cave during solstices and equinoxes. Modern astronomers who have studied the site confirm these sightlines chart the slow wobble of Earth's axis, a phenomenon called precession, which shifts constellations over a 26,000-year cycle. The math is undeniable. These carvings don't just show the sky as it was, they encode a celestial clock, one that tracks time on a scale no medieval culture should have comprehended. But who were the dragon astronomers? Local folklore speaks of a secretive monk sect called the Stargazers of the Silent Scales, who claimed descent from star-worshipping priests of the Longshan culture, a civilization that vanished over 3,000 years prior. Their texts, preserved in fragments, describe sky serpents that taught humans to read the turning of the heavens. Could these myths preserve a thread of lost knowledge passed down through generations? The carvings themselves offer a clue. The dragon scales aren't random, they're arranged in sequences matching the Fibonacci spiral, a mathematical pattern found in galaxy arms and orbital mechanics. The real enigma, though, is why this knowledge was hidden. Unlike other celestial records meant for agriculture or navigation, the Longmen carvings were placed in nearly inaccessible caves, their star-aligned viewing angles requiring perilous climbs. This wasn't a tool for common use, it was a vault. Perhaps the monks feared the implications of what they'd inherited, a science so advanced, it hinted at influences beyond earthly origins. Or maybe they recognized the danger in a truth too vast for their time. After all, precession isn't just about stars. It's a reminder that even the heavens are impermanent, and no empire, no matter how glorious, outlasts the turn of the cosmic wheel. Today, as lasers scan the carving's precise angles, researchers have noticed something chilling. The dragon star paths don't just look backward, they project forward, converging on a date in the 21st century when certain constellations will realign as they did in the deepest past. Whether prophecy or coincidence, one thing is certain: the dragon astronomers didn't just preserve knowledge, they left a message written in stone and starlight, waiting for an era that could finally understand it. The question is, are we ready for what it says? At the heart of Cambodia's jungles, where stone gods smile knowingly beneath tangled vines, the temples of Angkor Wat hide a celestial secret written in sunlight and shadow. The Khmer Empire's priests didn't just worship the heavens, they conversed with them, designing their sacred city as a colossal astronomical instrument. Towering spires frame solstice sunrises with razor precision, while hidden corridors align with lunar cycles. But one feature defies even modern understanding: the eclipse gallery, a narrow passageway where, on specific dates, darkness falls in perfect sync with the moon's dance across the sun, events predicted centuries in advance with impossible accuracy. How did a civilization without telescopes or calculus master the cosmos so completely? The answer may lie in the gallery's most enigmatic carvings. Along its walls, bas-reliefs depict serpentine deities swallowing solar disks not as mythology but as meticulous records. Each devoured sun corresponds to a real eclipse between the 9th and 12th centuries, with marginal notations detailing duration and celestial coordinates. Yet interspersed among these historical events are prophecies, carvings marking eclipses far in the future, including one that wouldn't occur until 1995. When researchers compared these predictions to NASA modern catalogs, the dates matched within hours. This wasn't guesswork, it was a science. What's truly unsettling, though, are the warnings hidden in plain sight. Certain eclipse carvings feature clusters of falling stars and crumbling temples, accompanied by numerals in ancient Khmer that translate to cyclic intervals every 187 years. Follow that pattern and it points ominously to 2029. Coincidence, perhaps, but consider this. Angkor's own decline began after a documented eclipse in 1345, an event marked by carvings showing floodwaters engulfing the city. Modern sediment studies confirm catastrophic monsoons struck the region at that exact time. Were the priests tracking more than just celestial mechanics? Could their eclipse gallery have been a cosmic early warning system, attuned to gravitational patterns that triggered earthly disasters? The most compelling evidence comes from an overlooked detail in the temple's foundations. Recent LiDAR scans revealed subterranean chambers arranged in concentric circles, their walls embedded with iron-rich stones that behave as natural magnets. Archaeoastronomers suggest these formed a primitive but effective resonance chamber, harnessing fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field during eclipses. Ancient texts describe priests listening to the silence during these events, claiming the vibrations foretold plagues, droughts, or invasions. It sounds like superstition until you study the accounts of Spanish explorers who witnessed Khmer shamans predicting a deadly typhoon hours before clouds appeared, all because of the wrong note in the sky. Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't how the Khmer predicted eclipses, but why they invested such effort in tracking them. Unlike cultures that feared celestial omens, Angkor's inscriptions treat eclipses as portals, thresholds when the veil thins and hidden truths emerge. One faded mural shows figures in priestly robes stepping through a darkened sun into a mirrored realm, while astrological texts speak of the Black Sun's wisdom. Were these metaphors or echoes of a deeper understanding, one that recognized eclipses not just as events to observe, but as keys to something far greater? Today, as astronomers confirm the 2029 eclipse will pass directly over Angkor's ruins, some researchers are rushing to decode the remaining prophecies. Others whisper of unease, of strange electromagnetic readings in the jungle, of carved serpents whose eyes seem to glow at dusk. The Khmer priests left behind more than predictions. They left a challenge written in stone and shadow. The heavens, they believed, speak to those who learn their language. The question is, are we listening, or are we already too late? High in the deathly silence of the Tibetan glaciers, where ice preserves secrets like a vault, explorers made a discovery that shattered history's timeline. An army frozen in time, not of men, but of warriors clad in armor that gleamed with constellations. Hundreds of mummies, their leathery skin intact beneath helmets crafted from an unknown metal, lay arranged in perfect battle formation. But it wasn't their preservation that chilled researchers. It was the intricate star maps etched into their breastplates, matching no known celestial alignment from human history. Who were these soldiers, and what war were they fighting that demanded armor forged from the heavens themselves? The first clue came from the metal. Initial tests revealed an alloy unlike anything seen before, a blend of meteoric iron and a crystalline substance that defied classification. Tibetan monks from nearby monasteries recognized the markings immediately. Their oldest scriptures spoke of the sky sentinels, a legion sworn to guard the boundary between realms, armed with the tears of fallen stars. But these weren't just poetic metaphors. The armor's star patterns, when digitally reconstructed, plotted a precise course toward the constellation Orion, as it would have appeared not thousands but tens of thousands of years ago. The implications were staggering. Either these warriors came from an impossibly ancient civilization, or they weren't from Earth at all. Then came the bodies themselves. Forensic analysis revealed skeletal structures with elongated limbs and rib cages too large for ordinary humans, their bones laced with traces of a mineral consistent with long-term exposure to high-altitude radiation. Even more perplexing were the artifacts found clutched in their hands, smooth, obsidian-like rods inscribed with symbols eerily similar to the sky scripts from the Gobi's lost sky mirror. When researchers subjected one rod to vibrational testing, it emitted a frequency that caused nearby electronics to malfunction, as if it were designed to disrupt technology. But the true horror lay in how they died. Ice core samples from the site showed a sudden, catastrophic temperature drop around 12,000 years ago, the same period geologists call the Younger Dryas, when Earth's climate flipped violently. The mummies' final poses told the story. Some knelt as if praying, others clutched their throats, their faces frozen in silent screams. Toxicology reports found their lungs filled with a fine metallic dust, suggesting they suffocated not on ice but on something far darker. Ancient Tibetan texts describe a war above the clouds where the sky bled ash and the gods sealed the defeated in mountains of glass. Were these the losers of that conflict? The most unsettling detail, though, wasn't the bodies. It was what surrounded them. Carved into the ice walls in a circle around the army were symbols matching those found in the Longmen Star Caves and the Angkor Eclipse Gallery, spirals, serpents, and the same recurring numeral 187. The same cycle, the same warning, as if every ancient culture that stumbled upon this truth encoded it in their own way, praying someone would piece it together before time ran out. Now, as the glaciers retreat, revealing more of this frozen legion each year, one question haunts every researcher who studied them. Were these warriors the last line of defense against something we've forgotten? Or were they the invasion force frozen mid-conquest? The answer might lie in their armor's final inscription, a single phrase repeated in every star map: the veil thins when the ice wakes. And with each passing year, the ice is waking. Deep in the caves of Dunhuang, where the desert wind carves secrets into sandstone, a library of forgotten manuscripts holds a phenomenon science still can't explain: pages that glow under moonlight, their inked constellations pulsing as if alive. Discovered sealed behind a wall in the early 20th century, these texts weren't just religious scrolls or historical records. They were celestial maps, their star charts so precise, modern astronomers traced them to coordinates in the Virgo cluster, a region of space invisible to the naked eye, yet meticulously detailed by scribes who shouldn't have known it existed. But how and why do these pages only reveal their secrets when bathed in the specific silvery light of a full moon? The first clue lies in the ink itself. Chemical analysis revealed traces of an unknown luminescent mineral, one that absorbs and re-emits light at wavelengths matching lunar spectra. Ancient alchemical texts from the Tang dynasty mention moon-drinking ink, a substance said to have been gifted by star-walking monks from the West. These same texts describe rituals where scribes worked exclusively at night, guided by the very constellations they transcribed. Yet the real mystery isn't just the ink's composition, it's the accuracy of the data. One scroll, labeled "The Luminous Pathway," plots the orbital dance of Jupiter's moon centuries before Galileo's telescope, while another details stellar nurseries in the Orion Nebula with terminology eerily similar to modern astrophysics. Then there's the question of who authored these texts. Marginal notes in crumbling Sanskrit suggest the knowledge came from the Sarvastivadin astrologers, a Buddhist sect believed to have preserved star lore from the even older Gandharan civilization. But the most startling revelation emerged when scholars compared the manuscripts to medieval Arabic star charts half a world away. Astronomers in Baghdad had recorded nearly identical coordinates despite no evidence of cultural contact. Could both have drawn from the same lost source? A 9th century Dunhuang scroll hints at this directly, referencing the silver-eyed teachers who carried heaven's geometry along the Silk Road. The manuscript's true purpose becomes clear when you study their placement in the caves. They weren't stored randomly, each niche aligned with specific lunar phases, suggesting the entire library functioned as an astronomical archive activated by celestial timing. During certain moonrises, light would penetrate deep into the caverns, illuminating select scrolls in sequence, as if guiding a reader through a predetermined narrative. Modern researchers attempting to replicate this effect made a chilling discovery. On the rare nights when the moon's angle perfectly matches Tang dynasty records, the glowing star patterns project onto the cave walls, forming a three-dimensional map of our galactic neighborhood. What were the monks of Dunhuang trying to preserve? Some scholars believe these texts were more than records, they were warnings. One frequently glowing passage describes a great rearrangement of stars occurring in cyclical patterns, with numerals in the margins counting down to an event roughly every 26,000 years. Sound familiar? It's the same celestial clock encoded in the Longmen Cave's dragon carvings. Even more unsettling are the manuscript's final pages, where the ink no longer glows but burns dark, depicting a black hole at the Milky Way's heart with an inscription: "When the devourer wakes, the scribes must sleep." Now, as astrophysicists confirm the existence of Sagittarius A, the supermassive black hole at our galaxy's center, one has to wonder, were these manuscripts meant to be read by us? Or were they left as a beacon for something or someone else? The caves have kept their secrets for over a millennium. But every full moon, when those pages stir awake, it's as if the past is whispering a question we've only just begun to ask. Among the countless treasures of Admiral Zheng, his legendary treasure fleet, one artifact stands out not for its gold or jewels, but for its impossible function, a device known as the celestial spyglass. Unlike ordinary telescopes that peer at stars, this bronze and crystal instrument allegedly allowed navigators to chart their course under broad daylight, using the sun's position to reveal hidden pathways across the ocean. But here's what defies logic. Modern astronomy confirms such a feat would require tracking celestial bodies invisible to the naked eye in daylight, a technology centuries ahead of its time. So was the spyglass a myth, a misunderstood tool, or something far more advanced than history remembers? The first clues come from the accounts of Zheng He's scribes, who described the device as a tube of 7 metals with lenses that drank the sun's fire. When activated at noon, it allegedly projected beams of light onto a calibrated map table, revealing not just latitude and longitude, but safe routes through treacherous waters paths confirmed by recent sonar scans to match hidden underwater ridges and currents. Some scholars argue this was an early form of solar compass, but the descriptions go further. Crew logs mention the spyglass identifying dark stars even at midday, a reference modern astrophysicists interpret as binary star systems or black holes, entities no 15th century sailor should have known existed. Then there's the mystery of its construction. A fragment recovered from a shipwreck near Sumatra contained traces of an unknown glass alloy layered with thin sheets of copper and mercury, a combination that, when tested, refracts light in ways that enhance atmospheric scattering. This could theoretically make dim stars briefly visible in daylight, though no modern replication has fully matched the alleged capabilities. Even more intriguing are the markings etched into the fragment, circles within circles, matching the nesting spheres diagrams in Ming Dynasty alchemical texts that describe the universe's structure. Were Zheng He's engineers tapping into cosmological principles beyond mere navigation? The spyglass's sudden disappearance deepens the enigma. After the Admiral's final voyage, the Ming emperors ordered the destruction of all nautical records and tools, fearing their power might fall into rival hands. But a surviving letter from a disgraced astronomer claims the spyglass wasn't destroyed. It was dismantled and hidden across 7 temples along the maritime Silk Road. This matches local legends from Malacca to Zanzibar of sun priests guarding strange bronze artifacts that hummed when aligned with certain stars. Perhaps the most haunting clue lies not in history but in modern astronomy. Researchers studying ancient Chinese star charts noticed peculiar annotations along Zheng He's documented routes notations that, when overlaid with infrared satellite imagery, correspond to regions of heightened cosmic background radiation. Coincidence or evidence the spyglass was tuned to something beyond visible light, something that whispered directions not from the stars we see, but from the unseen architecture of the cosmos itself. The celestial spyglass challenges everything we assume about early exploration. If it existed as described, it implies a lost chapter of astronomy, one where science and myth weren't yet separate, where navigating the seas meant listening to the hidden voices of the universe. And if fragments still lie waiting in forgotten temples, what other secrets might they reveal about how our ancestors truly saw the heavens? Beneath the towering eaves of Gyeongbokgung Palace, where Korea's kings once held court, whispers linger of a throne unlike any other, carved not from wood or stone, but from a star that fell to earth. The so-called meteorite throne of King Sejong was said to pulse with an eerie magnetism, its surface etched with swirling patterns that mirrored the Milky Way. Court records describe it as a gift from heaven, a seat of power that granted the ruler uncanny wisdom. But was this celestial artifact truly divine? Or did its otherworldly properties hide a truth so unsettling it drove those who studied it to vanish without a trace? The first anomaly lies in the throne's composition. While most meteoric iron contains nickel, analysis of surviving fragments revealed an alloy laced with iridium, an element so rare on Earth it's often associated with extraterrestrial impact. Even stranger were reports of the throne's behavior. On nights when the auroras danced unusually far south, servants claimed the throne hummed like a plucked bowstring, its metallic veins glowing faintly blue. Modern physicists confirm that certain meteoric metals can resonate with geomagnetic storms, but what happened next defies explanation. King Sejong's astronomers, tasked with documenting these phenomena, began recording peculiar notations in their star charts, symbols matching no known celestial script, alongside coordinates pointing not to constellations but to empty patches of space. Then came the disappearances. Over a span of 3 years, 7 court astronomers vanished under identical circumstances. Last seen entering the throne chamber at midnight, their bodies never found. The only clues, charred scrolls recovered from their quarters, filled with frantic calculations about the throne's echo and the calling frequency. One surviving fragment, now housed in Seoul's National Museum, contains a chilling final entry. The stars are not points of light but gates, and the throne is the key. What silenced these star readers? Some scholars point to the throne's strange interaction with human biology. Traditional Korean medicine texts from the era describe court physicians detecting abnormal heart rhythms in those who spent prolonged time near the artifact, as if their very pulses were synchronizing to an unseen rhythm. Others cite folktales of sky messengers who descended during meteor showers, suggesting the throne may have been more than a mere object. Perhaps it was a conduit, a bridge between realms that opened only under specific cosmic conditions. The throne's fate deepens the mystery. After the astronomers' disappearances, King Sejong ordered it sealed beneath the palace, shielded by layers of lead and salt, materials known to block both radiation and spiritual energy. Yet modern ground-penetrating radar scans reveal an empty chamber where it should lie. The only trace, a circular patch of fused stone, its surface scored with the same spiral patterns found on the armor of Tibet's frozen warriors and the walls of Angkor's eclipse gallery. Was the meteorite throne a celestial gift, a cursed artifact, or something far more profound? The answer might lie in the echo of those vanished astronomers' final warning. When heaven sends a messenger, it rarely knocks only once. On the island of Java, where dawn breaks over mist-wrapped volcanoes, the ancient temple of Borobudur holds a secret written in stone and sound. Among its towering stupas and intricate reliefs, one feature stands apart, a staircase that sings. During solstices, when the sun aligns perfectly with the temple's central axis, certain steps emit haunting harmonic tones underfoot, as if the very stones were tuned to the music of the spheres. This isn't random acoustics, it's a meticulously engineered phenomenon, one that hints at a lost science blending astronomy, architecture, and something far more mystical. The first clue lies in the steps themselves. Unlike the rest of the temple's volcanic rock, these particular stones are laced with quartz veins, a mineral known for its piezoelectric properties, meaning it vibrates and generates energy under pressure. But the precision goes deeper. Each singing step corresponds to a specific note in the Javanese gamelan scale, a traditional musical system tied to cosmic cycles. When researchers mapped the tones against celestial events, they discovered something astonishing. The staircase's sequence mirrors the orbital periods of Venus and Mercury, creating an auditory representation of their dance across the sky. This wasn't just a temple, it was a Stone Age planetarium, translating celestial motion into music. Why encode the heavens in sound? Local legends speak of the Naga Sari, serpent deities who supposedly guided Borobudur's builders. These spirits were said to communicate through vibrations, teaching priests to hear celestial omens. Modern archaeologists have found evidence to support this. Hidden chambers beneath the staircase contain bronze plates inscribed with instructions for listening to the sky's song. Even more intriguing are the temple's alignment markers, which don't just track solstices but pinpoint moments when certain stars emit frequencies detectable only by specialized instruments. Did the builders possess technology to harness these cosmic signals, or were they tapping into a forgotten intuitive science? The mystery deepens when you consider who might have used this knowledge. Borobudur's caretakers, the Sailendra dynasty, left behind cryptic texts describing rituals where priests ascended the singing steps blindfolded, relying solely on sound to navigate. Those who reached the top were said to receive visions, prophecies tied to the positions of the planets. Some scholars argue this was an early form of acoustic meditation, using vibration to alter consciousness. Others point to the temple's unique geometry. The staircase forms a perfect Fibonacci spiral, a pattern found in DNA, galaxies, and according to recent quantum physics research, the resonant frequencies of space-time itself. Perhaps the most haunting detail isn't how the staircase works, but why it fell silent for centuries. After the Sailendra's sudden decline, the temple was abandoned to the jungle, its secrets buried until 19th century explorers rediscovered it. When they first heard the steps sing, they assumed it was wind or loose stones, but Javanese elders knew better. Their oral histories warned that the staircase wasn't meant to be played like an instrument. It was a celestial clock, counting down to an event only the ancients understood. Today, as scientists measure the tones shifting slightly each year due to tectonic movement, one has to wonder, were the steps designed to change over time, marking not just solstices, but an epochal shift we've yet to recognize? Borobudur's singing staircase challenges everything we assume about ancient technology. It suggests a world where architecture wasn't just functional but alchemical, where stones held memory, and where the sky's secrets weren't just seen, they were heard. As the next solstice approaches and the steps hum once more under the feet of pilgrims, one truth becomes clear: some messages aren't written in ink or carved in relief. They're written in frequencies, waiting for the right moment to resonate across the centuries. At the frigid heights of the Mustang region, where the Himalayan winds howl like forgotten spirits, a graveyard unlike any other clings to the cliffs. A necropolis arranged not by lineage or status, but by the silent language of the stars. Here, the dead do not rest in rows, but in precise spirals and angular formations, their skeletal fingers pointing eternally skyward. When viewed from above, their positions mirror constellations unseen by the naked eye, patterns modern astronomers now recognize as pulsars and quasar alignments. But it's not just their celestial choreography that chills researchers, it's the bodies themselves. Each skull bears unnatural elongation, their foreheads sloping back as if stretched by some unseen force, while their bones gleam with traces of a metallic residue unknown to local geology. What kind of burial ritual bends human anatomy to the will of the cosmos? Local shepherds have long whispered of the sky-buried ones, a clan said to have descended from star-walkers who mingled with mortals. Their oral histories describe these beings as tall and slender, with eyes that reflected the night sky even in daylight, who taught the living to read the heavens as a map. Forensic analysis adds eerie weight to these tales. The skeleton's DNA shows markers inconsistent with surrounding populations, while their teeth, worn down in patterns suggesting a diet rich in lichen and mineral deposits, hint at a people adapted to extreme altitudes, perhaps even more at home on mountain peaks than in valleys. But the most unsettling detail lies in their bones' isotopic composition, which indicates exposure to radiation levels far beyond natural background doses, as if these individuals had brushed against something not of this world. Then there's the matter of timing. Carbon dating places the burials between 3,000 and 3,200 years ago, coinciding with a mysterious celestial event chronicled in Chinese, Mesopotamian, and Mayan records, a great wandering light that reportedly lingered in the sky for 7 nights. Clay tablets recovered near the necropolis depict this same phenomenon, showing elongated figures guiding beams of light onto mountain summits. One particularly vivid carving shows a procession of these beings carrying what appear to be glowing orbs toward the burial site, their path marked by star symbols matching the skeleton's arrangements. Were these burials a farewell, a homecoming, or something far darker? Modern attempts to decode the necropolis's star patterns have yielded only partial answers. When researchers input the skeleton's positions into astrophysical software, the alignment corresponds not to any single moment in history, but to a projected celestial map for the year 2300. This raises a disturbing possibility. Whatever knowledge the sky-buried ones possessed, it wasn't just about the past or present. It was a warning, or perhaps an invitation, meant for a future generation. The final enigma lies in the site's sudden abandonment. Excavations reveal tools and offerings left mid-ritual, as if the living fled in haste. Soil samples from the final burial layer contain microscopic spherules of iron-nickel alloy, identical to those found at meteor impact sites. Local legends speak of a night when the sky bled fire and the star walkers returned to the void. Today, as satellite imagery reveals similar necropolises hidden in remote mountain ranges from the Andes to the Caucasus, one truth becomes undeniable: this wasn't an isolated phenomenon. It was a global secret written in bone and starlight, waiting for the world to look up and understand. High in the snow-laden peaks of Tibet, where the thin air hums with the chants of mountain gods, an ancient prophecy echoes through time, written not in words but in the dance of stars. The Oracle of the Seven Stars, a mystic whose visions were said to flow from the Pleiades themselves, left behind a celestial cipher that predicted plagues, wars, and the rise and fall of empires with chilling precision. For centuries, her warnings were etched onto temple walls and whispered by monks, each prediction tied to the shifting positions of those seven sister stars. But the most unsettling detail, every single one came true until the night the predictions stopped mid-sentence, as if the cosmos itself had pressed mute. The oracle's methodology defies modern logic. Unlike traditional astrology, which interprets star movements symbolically, her prophecies were alarmingly literal. Scrolls recovered from a hidden chamber beneath the Potala Palace describe her ritual: 7 bronze mirrors arranged in a perfect circle, each polished to reflect one star of the Pleiades cluster. When aligned during specific lunar phases, the reflections allegedly merged into a single beam of light, projecting symbols onto a treated silk screen, symbols that translated into events down to the year, month, and even day. Case in point, a 12th century manuscript depicts a vision of black rain falling on the winged towers, accompanied by a date that, when deciphered, matches the volcanic winter of 1258, when ash from Indonesia's Mount Samalas blotted out the sun for years. But the prophecies grew darker as the centuries passed. One 18th century mural shows the oracle kneeling before her mirrors, hands raised in warning as the 7th star Merope flickers unnaturally in the artwork. The accompanying text predicts the Great Silence that would descend upon Tibet in 1959, coinciding with the Dalai Lama's exile and the suppression of monastic traditions. Even more eerie, the mural's edge depicts a broken mirror, its shards forming a numeral 2024. Then, abruptly, the record ends. The final prophecy, inscribed in 1947, consists of just 4 words: "They have seen us." That same night, monks reported a star sickness, sweeping the monastery, visions of towering figures with elongated shadows observing Earth from the Pleiades, their gazes freezing ink mid-stroke and silencing prayer wheels mid-turn. Since then, every attempt to recreate the oracle's ritual has failed. The mirrors no longer reflect, the silk screens stay blank, and astronomers note a peculiar anomaly. The Pleiades' light now reaches Earth 7 seconds slower than it should, as if something vast and unseen lingers between us and them. Modern researchers are left with 2 haunting possibilities. Either the oracle's predictions were a self-fulfilling prophecy, her warnings so potent they shaped history through sheer belief, or something in those stars was indeed watching, guiding her hand until the moment humanity crossed a threshold it wasn't meant to see. Tonight, as the Pleiades rise over Tibet, one question lingers in the thin mountain air. Were the oracle's last words a warning of discovery or an apology for what's coming? The deserts of the Taklamakan still whisper of caravans that vanished without a trace, their treasures swallowed by the shifting sands. Yet one vanished convoy left behind more than footprint. It left a mystery woven into silk, dyed with constellations no earthly looms should have known. These weren't ordinary trade goods. Merchants called them star maps you could wear, bolts of fabric threaded with celestial patterns so precise they guided travelers to oases unseen by day. But the silk's true secret lay in its shimmer, a metallic sheen that pulsed faintly under moonlight, as if the very threads remembered their cosmic origins. The mystery deepens with the account of a caravan that set out from Samarkand in 1386, carrying not just star silk, but something far rarer, sky iron. These weren't ordinary meteoric fragments, but forged artifacts, daggers that never dulled, compasses that pointed not north but to specific stars, and most hauntingly, a mirror that reflected not the viewer's face but scenes from distant lands. Then, halfway through the Gobi, the entire train vanished. Scouts found their camels wandering, still laden with supplies, but every crate of sky iron, and every human soul had dissolved into the dunes. Local legends speak of a black wind that night, a sandstorm unlike any other, where the grains themselves seemed to move with purpose. But here's what chills historians. That same evening, astronomers in Nanjing recorded a meteor shower so intense it lit the sky like dawn. And when researchers overlay those celestial coordinates with the caravan's last known route, they intersect at a patch of desert where modern satellites have detected strange magnetic anomalies, circles of fused glass buried beneath the sand, their spiral patterns identical to those on the lost sky iron artifacts. Perhaps the most unsettling clue lies in the star silk's design. When scholars finally deciphered one surviving fragment, they realized the constellations weren't just decorative, they formed a countdown. Each silk map charted planetary alignments leading to a single date, the very night the caravan disappeared. Coincidence, or were these textiles not guides but invitations? And the sky iron, a key to something that waited patiently in the dunes for its chosen bearers. Today, nomadic herders still avoid that stretch of desert, speaking of voices on the wind and lights flickering beneath the sand. Meanwhile, in museums across Asia, the few surviving scraps of star silk continue their silent vigil, their threads fading year by year, as if whatever power animated them knows we're running out of time to listen. In the bustling streets of Kaifeng, where merchants haggled over silk and scholars debated the classics, one structure towered above them all, literally and metaphorically. Su Song's celestial clock, a marvel of the 11th century, wasn't just a timekeeper. It was a miniature cosmos wrought in bronze and wood, its gears grinding out the secret rhythms of the heavens. Standing over 30 feet tall, this mechanical colossus didn't merely chime the hours, it animated the entire night sky, with intricately sculpted planets gliding along tracks to mirror their real celestial counterparts. Court officials marveled at its precision, while visiting diplomats whispered that the Song dynasty had harnessed the very mechanics of the universe. But the clock's true purpose was far more profound and far more dangerous. Deep within its labyrinth of interlocking gears, hidden behind the dancing figurines and ringing bells, lay its most controversial feature, a compartment housing the sky calculation wheel, a disc engraved with cyclical patterns matching historical comet appearances. According to palace records, the wheel began spinning erratically in 1094, aligning with symbols foretelling a guest star with a fiery tail. 3 nights later, a comet streaked across the sky, one so bright it cast shadows at midnight, just as the clock had predicted. This wasn't just engineering, it was prophecy cast in metal. And that's when the emperor ordered the tower dismantled. Why destroy such a masterpiece? The official edict claimed the comet's appearance was an ill omen, and the clock's predictive power disturbed the harmony of heaven. But secret memos between court astronomers tell a different story. The comet wasn't the problem, it was the timing. The sky calculation wheel had begun hinting at another celestial event, one tied to a numeric sequence matching the dynastic cycle's collapse. For a ruler whose mandate depended on celestial favor, a machine that could foresee the end of his lineage wasn't just inconvenient, it was treason. Yet fragments of the clock's design survived, smuggled out by Su Song's apprentices. One scroll, now housed in the British Museum, contains sketches of a gear ratio so advanced, modern engineers couldn't replicate it until the 1960s. Even more puzzling are the annotations describing a resonance chamber beneath the tower, designed to amplify the music of the spheres, a concept Western scholars wouldn't theorize for another 5 centuries. Was this poetic metaphor or evidence that the Song dynasty had stumbled onto acoustic astronomy, sensing gravitational waves long before Einstein? The most haunting clue lies in what happened after the tower's destruction. Chronicles from Korea, Japan, and Persia all describe a surge in mechanical clocks appearing suddenly in their courts, clocks bearing uncanny similarities to Song's design, yet missing the celestial prediction mechanisms. It's as if someone systematically scrubbed the dangerous knowledge from the blueprints before sharing them. Today, as archaeologists unearth strange bronze gears from Siberian tombs to Venetian shipwrecks, all matching the clock tower's specifications, one question lingers: did the Song dynasty invent the first mechanical computer, only to bury its full potential because the truth was too terrifying to acknowledge? Perhaps the answer isn't in the gears we've found, but in the ones still missing. The sky calculation wheel was never recovered. Some say it was melted down. Others insist it was hidden, waiting for an era less fearful of machines that speak the language of the stars. And if you listen closely to the ticking of antique clocks in museums across Asia, you might just hear the ghost of Song's masterpiece, still counting down to something the world forgot to watch for. Sailors have whispered of them for centuries, phantom vessels gliding silently along the celestial highway of the Milky Way, their sails billowing with starlight instead of wind. The oldest records come from Arab navigators in the 9th century who spoke of the silent fleet appearing during meteor showers, their hulls shimmering like quicksilver as they traced the galaxy's arc across the night sky. But these weren't just ghost stories. The most chilling accounts tie directly to a real maritime catastrophe: the disappearance of the Yongle Emperor's treasure fleet during the Leonid meteor storm of 1403. That night, Admiral Zheng's entire squadron vanished without distress signals or wreckage, as if swallowed by the sea, and ever since, mariners from Malacca to Zanzibar insist the lost ships still sail, now bound to the stars. What makes these sightings so unsettling is their consistency. Dutch East India Company logs from 1698 describe a train of luminous junks crossing the Tropic of Cancer during the same meteor shower that once doomed the Ming fleet. 19th century whalers in the South Pacific reported similar visions, their harpoons passing harmlessly through the phantom vessel's hulls as if striking mist. Even modern cargo ships occasionally radio in frantic reports of impossible rigging, spotted on radar during meteor showers, always along the Milky Way's densest band, always moving against the wind. The key to this mystery might lie in the fleet's final moments. Recovered letters from Admiral Zheng's subordinates describe an eerie phenomenon moments before their disappearance: a river of fire cascading from the sky, so bright it turned night to day, while the sea beneath them hardened like glass. Modern astronomers confirm the 1403 Leonids were unusually intense, with debris from comet Tempel-Tuttle igniting atmospheric nitrogen in a way that could create plasma mirages. But here's what science can't explain. Why do these ghostly reappearances always follow precise celestial coordinates matching ancient Chinese star maps? And why do spectral analysis of eyewitness photos reveal the ship's silhouettes shifting between Ming Dynasty junks and much older, unknown designs? Perhaps the most haunting clue comes from an unlikely source: deep sea divers exploring the wreck of a Ming-era merchant vessel off Borneo. Among the coral-encrusted artifacts, they found a navigation manual with marginalia describing the Sky Road, a path through the stars said to open during meteor showers. The text warns that any ship caught in this celestial draft would be lifted beyond the veil, doomed to sail the cosmic currents until the stars themselves grew cold. It sounds like myth until you consider the unidentified orbital debris NASA tracks every Leonid shower, objects moving against orbital physics as if guided by unseen sails. Tonight, as the next meteor shower paints the sky, keep one eye on the waves and another on the Milky Way, because somewhere between starlight and seafoam, the ghost fleet still rides the celestial tide, waiting for the night the sky road opens wide enough to come home. Beyond the vermilion gates of the Forbidden City, hidden beneath layers of imperial secrecy, sprawled a garden unlike any other, a living tapestry where horticulture and astrology intertwined with dangerous intimacy. The Forbidden Star Garden, accessible only to emperors and their most trusted astronomers, wasn't merely ornamental. Its winding paths traced celestial meridians, its rare blooms planted in precise formations mirroring constellations, and its central pond shaped like a crescent moon to reflect specific star clusters on summer solstices. But the garden's true power lay in its strangest claim. Plants grown here allegedly defied natural cycles, blooming out of season or growing to impossible sizes, as if drawing vitality from the stars themselves. Eyewitness accounts from Ming Dynasty eunuchs described night rituals where palace botanists placed seedlings under bronze mirrors carved with star patterns, bathing them in concentrated moonlight filtered through colored lenses. The results bordered on alchemy peonies blooming in midwinter with petals as large as dinner plates, or chrysanthemums developing bioluminescent streaks after being charged beneath the mirror representing Orion's belt. Most startling were the imperial logs detailing a grove of peach trees that bore fruit year-round, their roots nourished by a network of buried meteorite fragments. Modern soil analysis confirms elevated levels of iridium and palladium in the garden's earth metals common in asteroids but virtually absent in terrestrial geology. Were these cosmic contaminants accidentally enriching the soil, or intentionally cultivated like some celestial fertilizer? The garden's design reveals even stranger secrets. Archaeologists mapping the site discovered its pathways weren't random. They formed a three-dimensional model of the heavens, with raised terraces representing planetary orbits and star markers positioned at exact angles to amplify solstice light. This wasn't just symbolic. Contemporary physics experiments show the layout creates localized electromagnetic anomalies, particularly where intersecting paths frame Polaris at certain altitudes. Even more unnerving are the reports of singing plants, species like celestial bamboo and star jasmine, that allegedly emitted harmonic tones when the wind blew during eclipses, a phenomenon botanists now attribute to rare vibrational frequencies produced by rapid growth spurts. Yet the garden's most profound mystery isn't how it worked, but why it was abruptly abandoned. In 1644, as rebel forces stormed the Forbidden City, the last Ming emperor ordered the star garden burned. Workers tasked with the destruction later testified that the flames refused to touch certain plants' vines coiled into Draco's constellation, smoldered but never ignited, while flowers arranged as the Pleiades emitted a cold blue glow that repelled the fire. Within months, every surviving botanist who tended the garden either vanished or died under suspicious circumstances, their research reduced to ashes. Today, as satellite imagery reveals faint geometric patterns in the regrown vegetation, circles too perfect to be natural, lines too straight for erosion, one question lingers like the garden's legendary fragrance. Were the emperors cultivating plants, or were the stars cultivating something through them? The soil remembers, and beneath the modern tourist walkways, the roots of those celestial peaches still twist downward, clutching their meteorite bones, waiting for the next alignment. For generations, Himalayan shepherds whispered of the god's stairways, towering pillars of light that appeared without warning above the highest peaks, glowing columns so bright they cast shadows at midnight. Ancient Tibetan texts describe these phenomena as celestial ladders, pathways where enlightened beings ascended to the heavens or descended with divine messages. But what makes these accounts so chilling isn't just their mysticism, it's their eerie consistency. Scrolls from the 8th century detail the same precise conditions we now recognize as light pillars, an atmospheric quirk where ice crystals reflect ground lights vertically into the sky. Yet how could medieval monks with no knowledge of optics document these events with scientific accuracy centuries before modern explanations emerged? The key lies in the details they emphasized. While modern science attributes light pillars to hexagonal ice plates aligning in frigid air, ancient observers noted something textbooks omit: the pillars' peculiar behavior. Monastic records from Bhutan describe them dancing during geomagnetic storms, splitting into multiple shafts or pulsing in sync with distant temple bells. Even more perplexing are accounts from 17th century Nepal, where a witnessed pillar allegedly solidified momentarily, allowing a yogi to climb its shimmering surface before vanishing into the glow. Such stories sound like pure mythology until you examine the region's unique geology. The Himalayas sit atop massive quartz deposits, a mineral known to amplify and distort electromagnetic fields. Combine that with the altitude's thin air, and you have a natural laboratory for atmospheric anomalies that might interact with human perception in ways we're only beginning to understand. Perhaps the most haunting evidence comes from an unexpected source: art. Thangka paintings meant to depict these light pillars often include subtle aberrations, spiral patterns within the beams, or figures hidden in the glare that resemble no known deity. Infrared imaging of one 15th century scroll revealed underlayers where the artist initially painted the pillars as physical structures, complete with stair-like grooves, only to later veil them in translucent gold. Was this artistic license or evidence that some monks believed these weren't mere reflections but something tangible? The answer might lie in the pillars' alleged locations. Unlike random light phenomena, historical sightings cluster around 5 specific peaks, all sites where ancient megaliths or carved stupas align with solstice sunrises. This suggests the light pillars weren't just observed, they were somehow anticipated, even courted, through precise architectural alignment. Modern climbers still report anomalous lights, but with a disturbing twist. Digital cameras capture what the naked eye misses: brief, geometric shapes flitting through the pillars, or faint symbols etched into the beam's cores. Some researchers argue these are lens flares or sensor artifacts, yet Himalayan guides tell a different story. They speak of compass needles spinning wildly near these sites, or GPS devices malfunctioning in ways that mirror disturbances documented near the sky mirror of the Gobi or the Forbidden Star Garden. The common thread: all these phenomena occur where human activity, whether temples, tombs, or art, intersects violently with the Earth's magnetic ley lines. What did the ancients truly witness? Atmospheric optics explain the pillars' mechanics, but not their timing, their locations, or the visceral certainty with which multiple cultures treated them as portals. Perhaps the most unsettling possibility is that both explanations hold fragments of truth, that the Himalayas' unique confluence of geology, climate, and sacred geometry creates moments when the boundary between reflection and reality thins, when light doesn't just illuminate but listens. And if that's the case, then those towering beams might still be waiting, not for scientists to analyze them, but for someone or something to answer back. Among the treasures of the Tang dynasty's imperial vaults, one artifact defied all logic: a chessboard carved from midnight jade, its pieces inlaid with pulsars of crushed meteorite. Court chronicles tell of emperors and scholars gathering to watch this marvel during solar eclipses, when the pieces would shudder to life without human touch, sliding across the board in patterns that mirrored celestial events. The game wasn't mere entertainment, it was a window into the cosmos, its movements predicting lunar cycles, planetary alignments, and even the arrival of comets with terrifying accuracy. But the board's true power lay in its missing instruction scroll, a text so dangerous the monk entrusted with its safekeeping chose flames over legacy, reducing centuries of cosmic wisdom to ashes in a single night. What could drive a scholar to destroy such knowledge? The answer begins with the chessboard's origins. Unearthed from a tomb in Sichuan, the set was buried alongside a general who allegedly commanded star-born battalions during the Han Dynasty. His epitaph boasted he'd learned strategy from the celestial generals themselves, a claim dismissed as myth until researchers noticed the board's unique properties. Under ultraviolet light, its surface revealed invisible grooves, etchings that formed star maps when dusted with powdered moonstone, a mineral known to phosphoresce during geomagnetic storms. This wasn't just a game, it was a sophisticated astronomical calculator, its pieces acting as moving variables in an equation we're only now beginning to decipher. The monk's decision to burn the scroll becomes chillingly clear when you examine fragments salvaged from his brazier. Charred edges bear traces of an ink laced with uranium oxide, a substance that glows faintly under radiation. Combined with accounts from surviving apprentices, it suggests the scroll didn't just explain the board, it contained protocols for awakening it fully, rituals involving precise alignments of mirrors and chanting at frequencies that induced harmonic resonance in the jade. One terrified disciple wrote of seeing the chess pieces levitate during an unauthorized experiment, arranging themselves into a configuration that matched a future eclipse down to the minute. When the monk discovered this breach, his reaction wasn't anger but terror. He burned the scroll that very night, whispering that some doors once opened could never be closed. Perhaps the most unsettling clue lies in what happened after the scroll's destruction. The chessboard fell inert, its pieces moving only during eclipses as before, except for one anomaly. In 1941, during a total solar eclipse visible across Asia, a Japanese officer stationed in Nanjing documented the pieces forming a pattern matching the atomic bombing of Hiroshima 4 years later. The board now resides in a Taipei museum, its glass case lined with lead. Scientists monitoring it report brief energy spikes during celestial events, always accompanied by a faint humming from the meteorite inlays, as if something somewhere is still playing the game. Beneath the scorching sands of the Taklamakan, where the desert devours all traces of time, lies a burial site that defies every law of nature and history. Here, in a wasteland so dry it cracks bones to dust, the celestial mummies rest in perfect preservation, their skin still supple after millennia, their golden masks gleaming with the unmistakable pattern of Orion's belt. These aren't ordinary remains, they're enigmas wrapped in star-patterned linen, woven with threads of celestial blue and cosmic gold, as if the very fabric of the night sky had been spun into burial shrouds. But the real mystery isn't just their unnatural preservation or their ornate trappings, it's where they were found. This is a desert so barren, even bacteria struggle to survive. So why do these bodies look like they were laid to rest yesterday? The mummies' masks offer the first tantalizing clue. Cast from an alloy of gold and an unidentified metallic element, they reflect more than just craftsmanship, they're precision instruments. When researchers tilted one mask beneath laser light, the embossed stars of Orion's belt projected a perfect mirror image of the constellation as it would have appeared 4,000 years ago, down to the precise angle of Betelgeuse's red hue. Such accuracy shouldn't exist in artifacts this ancient, yet the carbon dating is unequivocal. Even stranger, the mask's inner surfaces are etched with microscopic grooves that, when magnified, reveal topographic maps of the surrounding desert. But with one glaring anomaly, they depict rivers and lakes where none exist today. Then there's the cloth. The star-patterned wrappings aren't dyed with ordinary pigments, but with crushed lapis lazuli and meteoric iron, materials that would have been rarer than gold in this region. Spectral analysis revealed something even more astonishing. The threads emit faint ultraviolet fluorescence, glowing faintly under blacklight in patterns that match the pulsation cycles of variable stars like Algol. This wasn't just decorative, it was a deliberate, almost obsessive recreation of the night sky. But why go to such lengths for burial shrouds? The answer might lie in the mummies themselves. Genetic testing shows they belong to no known ethnic group in the region, with DNA markers suggesting origins somewhere between the Caucasus and the Indus Valley. Their teeth tell another story filled with traces of exotic pollens and minerals. They hint at a lifetime spent traversing lands far beyond the Taklamakan's deadly embrace. Local folklore speaks of the Star Walkers, a vanished people who supposedly navigated by starlight so precisely they could cross the desert blindfolded. Nomads still avoid the burial site, claiming the mummies' tombs are doors that open both ways, and that on certain nights the masks hum with a sound like distant thunder. Modern science offers a less mystical but no less startling explanation. The tomb's alignment creates a natural refrigeration effect, with underground salt deposits and precise ventilation channels maintaining a constant mummification-friendly climate. But that doesn't account for the artifacts found clutched in the mummy's hands, small, star-shaped crystals that emit low-level radiation, or the way compasses spin erratically near the site, as if the very ground remembers its celestial ties. The most haunting question isn't how these mummies were preserved, but why they were left here at all. This desert wasn't just inhospitable, it was a deliberate choice, a place where no civilization thrived, where no conqueror would think to look. Were they hiding or were they waiting? As astronomers point out, the tomb's alignment doesn't just mirror Orion's belt, it marks the exact point where the constellation will realign with Earth in another 500 years. Coincidence, or a message cast in gold and linen, whispering across millennia that some journeys don't end with death, they merely pause until the stars come right again. On the windswept plains of eastern Mongolia, where the horizon stretches uninterrupted for miles, a circle of standing stones once defied the very laws of light. Known as the Vanishing Star Altar, this ring of precisely placed basalt columns possessed an impossible quality. At high noon during the summer solstice, it cast no shadow. Not a sliver of darkness touched the ground within its perfect circumference, as if the stones themselves had severed their connection to the earthly realm. Local herders long revered the site as a gateway where shamans could commune with celestial spirits, but their reverence turned to terror when the altar's strange properties began seeping into the surrounding landscape. The first signs of sky sickness appeared in the herds. Sheep staggered in broad daylight, their pupils dilated as if staring at some unseen midnight sky, while newborn foals were born with twisted spines and unnaturally elongated limbs. Then came the human victims. Shepherds who camped near the stones reported waking with their hair turned white, their skin etched with faint star-like patterns that pulsed under moonlight. Shamans who investigated the site described a wrongness in the air, a sensation of weightlessness near the stones that left them nauseated for days. Most chilling of all were the accounts from children who swore they saw figures moving between the pillars at noon, their forms shimmering like heat haze despite the shadowless ground beneath them. Recent archaeological surveys revealed just how unnatural the altar truly was. The stones weren't local to the region. Their mineral composition matches basalt found only in the Hangai Mountains over 300 miles away. Even more perplexing is their arrangement. While most ancient stone circles align with solar or lunar events, the Vanishing Star Altar's geometry corresponds to no known celestial pattern except one. When researchers input the pillar positions into astronomical software, they match the apparent positions of gamma-ray bursts recorded in 2012, ultra-high-energy events invisible to the naked eye. How could builders in the Bronze Age have plotted a monument to phenomena modern telescopes barely detect? The answer might lie in the altar's destruction. Oral histories describe the night the community rose up to dismantle the stones, led by a warrior poet named Alton Ovu. His final verses, preserved on a battered deer-hide scroll, claim the pillars weren't erected by human hands at all, but grown from meteorite fragments planted in the earth by those who walk the black paths between stars. As proof, he described finding strange nodules embedded in the stone bases, metallic cysts that, when broken open, released a smell like burnt lightning and caused vivid hallucinations of great wheels turning in the void. Modern testing of the few remaining stone fragments confirms elevated levels of iridium and an isotope of plutonium not found in nature, lending eerie credibility to his account. What truly happened at the vanishing star altar? The scattered stones now lie buried beneath ritual mounds, each layer sealed with salt and juniper ash to bind their hunger. But satellite imagery reveals an unsettling pattern. The vegetation around the site grows in concentric rings, its chlorophyll levels fluctuating in sync with solar flares. And on quiet nights, when the wind dies and the grasslands hold their breath, those who linger near the burial mounds report feeling an impossible pressure, as if something vast and ancient is pressing against the fabric of reality, searching for the door we broke when we tore those shadowless stones from the earth. On the night of October 6, 1582, the heavens above China split open in an event so terrifying, imperial astronomers scrambled to record it as stars falling like rain thicker than snow. Across the Korean peninsula, royal scribes described the sky catching fire, with luminous trails crisscrossing from horizon to horizon, while in Japan, samurai diaries spoke of a dragon's breath illuminating rice paddies bright as noon. This wasn't just a meteor shower, it was a celestial bombardment so intense it rewrote religious doctrines, shifted political power, and left entire populations questioning whether the cosmos itself had declared war. The sheer scale defied comprehension. Ming Dynasty court records from Beijing detail 10,000 fire drakes streaking across the sky over 6 uninterrupted hours, an event modern astronomers estimate may have been the most intense meteor storm in recorded history, potentially surpassing even the legendary Leonids of 1833. What made this storm unique wasn't just its density, but its aftermath. Unlike fleeting shooting stars, these meteors left tangible traces. Peasants in Shanxi province woke to find fields littered with blackened stones still warm to the touch, while Korean alchemists collected star metal fragments that, when forged into blades, allegedly cut through steel as if slicing silk. The cultural shockwaves proved even more profound. In Kyoto, where the storm coincided with the annual Festival of the Dead, Buddhist monks interpreted the event as souls ascending en masse, a sign the cycle of reincarnation had briefly ruptured. Chinese imperial astrologers faced execution when their failure to predict the event was deemed treasonous negligence, triggering a purge of the Astronomical Bureau that reshaped scientific practices for generations. Most chilling were the grassroots repercussions, reports of mass panic in rural villages where the meteorite struck, with terrified farmers abandoning crops to build makeshift observatories, convinced the sky was sending coded warnings. Modern science offers partial explanations. The timing aligns with Earth's passage through debris from Comet Biela, a celestial body later observed splitting in two, a fragmentation that may have unleashed an unusually dense debris field. But historical accounts suggest something more complex. Korean star charts from the era show curious annotations near the constellation Taurus, notes about the sky's wounds and veins of light that modern astrophysicists recognize as descriptions of atmospheric airglow, a phenomenon typically invisible during meteor showers. This implies the storm didn't just deposit meteors, it temporarily altered Earth's upper atmosphere in ways still not fully understood. Perhaps the most haunting legacy lies hidden in the art of the period. A previously overlooked 16th century Japanese scroll, rediscovered in 2019, depicts the event with eerie precision, not as random streaks, but as a spiral pattern radiating from a single point near Orion. When researchers overlaid this with contemporary European maps of the same storm, they found matching trajectories. This wasn't chaotic debris, it was a structured, almost purposeful celestial procession. One Ming scholar's lost manuscript, partially salvaged from a bookbinding in 2012, contains a final unsettling observation. The meteors didn't burn out randomly, they winked out in sequence like lanterns being extinguished along an invisible road. As if something or someone was traveling that fiery path and the stars were merely footsteps. buried beneath layers of lacquered wood and silk in a forgotten Chu dynasty tomb. A bundle of bamboo slips lay waiting for 2 millennia, not chronicling battles or poetry, but something far more extraordinary. These fragile strips, meticulously notched with celestial observations, reveal a secret that rewrites the history of astronomy. Chinese scholars documented a supernova explosion nearly 2,000 years before Tycho Brahe famously recorded his stellar nova in 1572. But these aren't just ancient star notes, they're a window into a lost scientific tradition where bamboo and ink captured the violent death throes of a distant sun. The slips themselves tell a startling story. Dated to 326 BC based on accompanying artifacts, they describe a guest star flaring to brilliance in the constellation Y, remaining visible for over 70 days before fading into oblivion. Modern astronomers tracking these coordinates found something chilling: the precise location of the supernova remnant IC 446, a cosmic debris field still expanding from an explosion that, according to stellar physics, would have been visible from Earth right when the Chu scholars were writing. This level of accuracy shouldn't exist. Without telescopes or photography, how could ancient astronomers have pinpointed such a transient event with such precision? The answer lies in the bamboo's meticulous design. Each slip corresponds to a specific observational technique described in later Han Dynasty texts, methods once dismissed as myth. One slip details a smoke-calibrated sighting tube, a bronze instrument that used rising incense trails to steady the viewer's gaze against the night wind. Another references star-measuring silk, a grid of threads stretched across frames to plot celestial movements like an analog star chart. Most astonishing is a broken slip that hints at collaborative observation. From Jingmen to Yunmeng, 12 towers confirm the blaze. This suggests a coordinated network of observatories spanning hundreds of miles, cross-verifying sightings to rule out atmospheric illusions, a scientific rigor Europe wouldn't achieve until the Renaissance. Yet the real mystery isn't how they recorded the supernova, it's why they feared it. Unlike later astronomers who viewed novas as celestial omens, the Chu slips treat the event as a physical phenomenon. One passage warns of sky poison causing crops to wither, possibly describing gamma-ray burst effects on the atmosphere. Another mentions ceremonial masks worn by observers, perhaps protection against dust from meteorite impacts triggered by the shockwave. Most haunting is a slip that broke during excavation, its surviving characters reading, "The dragon's breath grows closer next time." Recent excavations near the tomb compound add another layer. Archaeologists uncovered a buried observatory platform aligned with the supernova's position, its stone pillars etched with markings that track precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis. This means the Chu astronomers didn't just witness a stellar explosion, they calculated when its light would reach them, then built monuments to wait for it. Such sophistication forces us to reconsider everything we assume about early science. While Tycho Brahe's supernova revolutionized European astronomy, these bamboo slips prove the Chinese were already cosmic veterans, watching stars live and die with tools as elegant as they were precise. Perhaps the final revelation lies not in the bamboo's ink, but in its silence. After 70 days of meticulous notes, the records stop abruptly. No conclusion, no prophecy, just empty slips bound with undyed thread. Some scholars believe the astronomers intentionally left space for future observers, anticipating the next great light in the darkness. Others think the missing ending was never meant to be written at all. Because when you spend your life studying the stars, you learn some truths can't be captured in words. They can only be witnessed, remembered, and passed down like light from an explosion that burned out centuries before you were born. In the vast expanse of the Pacific, where the horizon blends seamlessly with the sky, there once sailed a man who carried the cosmos in his bones. His name was remembered only in fragments, Mao Piailug, a name whispered like the rustle of palm fronds, a master navigator from the tiny atoll of Satawul. Unlike European explorers who relied on compasses and sextants, Mao navigated by the stars, the waves, and the songs of his ancestors. He was the last of his kind, a living bridge between the ancient art of wayfinding and a world that had forgotten how to listen to the wind. The Polynesians didn't just sail, they danced with the ocean, reading its rhythms like a familiar melody. Mao learned these secrets as a child, kneeling beside his grandfather on the hull of a voyaging canoe. The stars weren't just points of light to him, they were guides, each one a fixed point in a spinning world. He memorized the rising and setting of hundreds of stars, knowing that if he could follow them, he would never be lost. But the true mastery lay in what couldn't be seen, the way the swells bent around distant islands, the flight patterns of birds at dusk, even the taste of the wind, salty and thick when land was near. These were the invisible threads that stitched the Pacific together, a map written in the language of nature. Yet the most tantalizing secret Mao carried was the knowledge of the floating islands, places not marked on any European chart. These weren't myths or mirages. Some scholars now believe they were massive pumice rafts, volcanic debris that could drift for months, appearing and vanishing like ghostly landmasses. Others speculate they were temporary atolls, coral formations that rose and fell with shifting tides. Mao spoke of them sparingly, only hinting at their locations in coded chants passed down through generations. To him, they weren't just navigational markers but sacred waypoints, gifts from the ocean itself. By the 19th century, as Western ships crisscrossed the Pacific with their steel and steam, Mao's art was fading. Younger generations, lured by the promises of modernity, no longer saw the stars as their ancestors had. The last full transmission of his knowledge came in the twilight of his life, when he guided a replica Polynesian canoe from Hawaii to Tahiti, without instruments, without maps, using only the old ways. When he passed, the stars didn't dim, but something irreplaceable slipped beneath the waves. Today, fragments of Mao's wisdom survive in scattered notebooks and the memories of a few students. But the heart of it, the intimate, living connection between human and sky, is gone. Perhaps that's the greatest tragedy of all. Not just the loss of knowledge, but the silencing of a dialogue that had lasted millennia, a conversation between the stars and those courageous enough to follow them. When we step back and examine these celestial tales as a whole, patterns emerge that transcend time and geography, threads of knowledge so advanced, they weave through every culture like constellations connecting across the night sky. Consider the precision of those star maps etched into dragon scales at Longmen, or the pulsar-like accuracy of the sky mirror's spirals. These weren't isolated feats of genius, they were fragments of a shared understanding, a universal language written in the movements of celestial bodies. From the Khmer priests who decoded eclipse cycles to the Chu astronomers tracking supernova with bamboo slips, ancient civilizations displayed an intimacy with the cosmos that rivals modern astrophysics. What's startling isn't just their accuracy, it's the consistency. Cultures separated by oceans and millennia documented the same celestial events with tools that shouldn't have existed, as if guided by an invisible hand. Then there are the disappearances, those eerie voids where knowledge and people vanish without trace. The Jade Emperor's court dissolving into the night. The Star Silk caravan swallowed by dunes. The Tibetan sky sentinels frozen mid-March. These aren't just dramatic flourishes, they're fractures in history's timeline, moments when entire systems of understanding were lost or deliberately erased. Notice how often destruction follows revelation. Su Song's clock tower dismantled after predicting dynastic collapse, the Forbidden Star Garden burned to ash, the whispering bells of Xanadu scattered by a monk who feared their power. It's as if these civilizations touched something too potent to sustain, a cosmic current that either consumed them or was forcibly suppressed. Most perplexing of all are the artifacts themselves, objects that defy the technological narrative we've constructed. The celestial spyglass tracking black holes in daylight, the singing staircase of Borobudur translating orbital mechanics into sound, the meteorite throne humming with electromagnetic resonance. These weren't just ahead of their time, they operated on principles we're still unraveling. Modern labs confirm the impossible: alloys with no earthly origin, crystals emitting targeted radiation, textiles woven with star charts accurate to sidereal time. The deeper we dig, the clearer it becomes these weren't lucky guesses or poetic metaphors. They were deliberate applications of a science we've yet to rediscover. What binds these threads together? Perhaps it's the recurring numeral 187 carved into Angkor's walls, whispered in Tibetan ice caves, hidden in the margins of bamboo star records. A cycle, a warning, a countdown, or maybe it's the way these stories all circle back to communication, not just observing the cosmos but engaging with it. The celestial chessboard moving on its own, the star silk maps guiding travelers to invisible oases, the vanishing star altars shadowless noon. These cultures didn't just watch the heavens, they conversed with them, using a vocabulary of resonance, alignment, and light we've only begun to decipher. The most haunting possibility, that these tales aren't separate mysteries at all, but chapters in a single, sprawling epic, one where humanity's oldest civilizations were participants in a celestial dialogue, entrusted with tools and knowledge meant to navigate not just Earth, but the fabric of the universe itself. And if that's true, then their greatest legacy isn't what they left behind, but what they expected us to remember. Modern technology is tearing open the vault of ancient secrets, revealing startling connections between myth and measurable reality. Satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar now expose hidden alignments in Angkor Wat's temple corridors, precise solstice tracking points once dismissed as coincidence. Archaeoastronomers using 3D modeling have reconstructed the celestial chessboard of Emperor Qin's court, proving its gears could predict lunar eclipses within minutes. Even more compelling are spectral analyses of the star silk fragments, where ultraviolet scans reveal dye compounds sensitive to cosmic radiation materials that fluoresce only during meteor showers, suggesting these textiles weren't just maps but celestial calendars woven into wearable art. The validation cuts both ways. While LiDAR confirms Borobudur's singing staircase was engineered to resonate at frequencies matching planetary orbits, other legends crumble under scrutiny. Take the floating islands of Polynesian lore. Satellite oceanography shows these were likely pumice rafts from undersea eruptions, natural phenomena, not mystical waypoints. Yet some mysteries deepen. When astrophysicists analyzed the Tibetan Sky Sentinel's armor, they found the star patterns correspond to pulsar alignments invisible without telescopes. The odds of Bronze Age artisans randomly replicating such configurations, less than 1 in 3 billion. Perhaps the most electrifying convergence lies in shared anomalies. The numeral 187 recurring in Khmer eclipse carvings, frozen warrior burial circles, and Tang dynasty star charts matches the cycle of a documented but poorly understood cosmic event: the alignment of Earth's magnetosphere with a particular sector of the Milky Way's spiral arms. Modern astronomers only identified this pattern in 2019, yet multiple ancient cultures seem to have tracked it millennia ago. Infrared examinations of the Forbidden Star Garden soil revealed another shock: layers of ionized particles matching radiation profiles from gamma-ray bursts, suggesting these star-fed plants were reacting to actual astrophysical events. But for every revelation, a deeper question emerges. Why do Bronze Age sites from Mongolia to Peru share identical celestial alignments targeting the same patch of sky, a region now known to harbor a supermassive black hole? How did the builders of the vanishing star alter encode gamma-ray burst coordinates into stone? The most unsettling possibility isn't that ancient sky watchers guessed correctly. It's that they had access to methodologies modern science can't yet explain. As particle physicists begin testing whether certain meteoritic alloys can indeed sing, when exposed to cosmic rays, we're left staring at the stars with the same awe as those who came before us, not just observers, but students in a classroom older than civilization itself. There's a reason these celestial mysteries cling to our collective imagination long after their original cultures have faded into history. It's more than just curiosity, it's something primal etched into the human psyche. Picture this: you're standing under a vast, unpolluted night sky, the kind our ancestors knew intimately. The stars aren't just pinpricks of light, they're a living tapestry pulsing with stories. For millennia, that sky wasn't a passive backdrop, it was a compass, a calendar, and a confidant. When ancient cultures mapped constellations into dragons or chariots, they weren't just telling stories. They were encoding survival. The movement of Orion's belt signaled when to plant crops, the Pleiades' rise warned of coming storms. But somewhere between practicality and wonder, these star lore traditions took on a life of their own, evolving into something transcendent. Consider the psychological pull of the unknown. Humans are wired to seek patterns, to fill gaps in understanding with narratives that resonate. When Bronze Age builders aligned stone, henge with solstice sunrises, or Khmer engineers designed temples to mirror eclipses, they weren't just observing nature, they were asserting control over chaos. Celestial myths became the ultimate coping mechanism, transforming terrifying cosmic phenomena, comets, eclipses, supernova, into tales of gods and heroes. This instinct hasn't vanished. Modern astrophysics reveals black holes and dark matter, yet we still describe them metaphorically as monsters and invisible webs. The language changes, but the awe remains. Then there's the tantalizing possibility of lost wisdom. The precision of ancient star maps and artifacts suggests these cultures possessed knowledge that, by all rights, shouldn't have existed in their eras. The doggone people's awareness of Sirius B, a star invisible without telescopes, or the celestial chessboard predicting Hiroshima, these aren't just lucky guesses. They hint at a forgotten scientific tradition, perhaps one that blended empirical observation with intuitive understanding we've since discarded. It's intoxicating to imagine, what if these myths aren't just stories but fractured remnants of a holistic cosmology, a way of seeing the universe that modern science is only now rediscovering? But perhaps the deepest allure lies in the existential questions these myths provoke. When the Jade Emperor's court vanishes or the sky mirror hums with unseen energy, they challenge our assumptions about humanity's place in the cosmos. These stories whisper that we might once have been part of something grander, a dialogue between earth and sky that's since gone silent. In an age of light pollution and algorithm-driven lives, that loss feels profound. We're drawn to these mysteries not just for answers, but for the reminder that our ancestors looked up and dared to dream in scales we've forgotten. The stars haven't changed. Only our ability to hear their stories has dimmed. What if history isn't just written in dusty scrolls and crumbling ruins, but etched in starlight itself? These celestial tales force us to confront a thrilling possibility, that the line between myth and memory was never as clear as we thought. From the star-silk caravans of the Taklamakan to the shadowless stones of Mongolia, these aren't just stories, they're fragments of a lost conversation between humanity and the cosmos. And the most electrifying question isn't whether these legends are true, but how much truth we've yet to uncover. Think of the Tibetan sky sentinels, frozen in battle formations that mirror pulsars unseen by the naked eye, or the Jade Emperor's court vanishing into the void as astronomers recorded a great darkness blotting out constellations. These aren't poetic flourishes, they're puzzles crafted by cultures that viewed the heavens not as distant specks, but as active participants in human destiny. Modern science dismisses them as coincidence, yet the patterns persist. The same star maps appear in disparate civilizations, the same numerals carved into temple walls, the same warnings about cycles we're only now beginning to measure. But here's where the real magic lies, not in proving these tales fact or fiction, but in recognizing their power to re-enchant the world. When a Bronze Age altar predicts gamma-ray bursts or a Tang Dynasty chessboard hums with celestial energy, it reminds us that wonder is a form of wisdom. Our ancestors didn't just observe the stars, they listened to them, weaving knowledge into myth because some truths are too vast for raw data alone. Now it's your turn. Behind every local landmark, the mountain your grandmother said was a fallen giant. The river whispered to reflect the Milky Way at solstice. There's a sky story waiting to be remembered. What celestial secrets are buried in your hometown's legends? Share them, debate them, let them breathe again. Because the greatest mystery isn't just what the ancients knew, it's what we've forgotten, and whether the stars are still whispering, if only we'd look up and listen.